some months are worse than others, but
Well, like today I have camaraderie hours.
Okay, I'm in.
I'd like to call to order the work session for January the 13th. Good morning. Happy New Year to everyone. Our first order of business, we're skipping over our fire department oaths, and we'll do that at a later time. January service awards, I'd like to call forward Torrin McCrae, who's been with the city for 40 years. Torrin, thank you so much. Welcome.
Torrin McCrae, 40 years of service. Torrin began his career with the city on January 28, 1980. Blondie, the Sugar Hill Gang, and Michael Jackson ruled the airways. Jimmy Carter was president, Mount St. Helens erupted, and the question on everybody's mind was, who shot JR? As the city's newest container maintenance worker, Torrin was focused on transferring the skills he acquired by earning a certificate in auto body repair at Pinellas Technical College to his new job. Very quickly, he developed a proficiency in stick electrode welding, oxyacetylene welding, and oxy-fuel welding, and earned a promotion to the position of Container Maintenance Welder 1. During Torrin's tenure with the city, he has held and continues to serve in many roles, including customer service, inventory control, lead worker, and dumpster repair, painting, and delivery. He is also a part of the container maintenance team that provides fencing and loading dock repair that is pivotal in the ongoing operations of the solid waste complex. When Torrin's career with the city began, handwritten logs were needed to track inventory and document the lifespan of solid waste containers because personal computers were not yet readily available. He described the move in 1994 from the old solid waste office on Russell Street to its current location as going from a rowboat to a yacht. Born in Morton Plant Hospital, the lifelong resident watched with pride as Clearwater Beach transformed from a collection of mom and pop businesses to the world-class beach that it is today. Although welding remains Torrin's primary responsibility, he has been the department's forklift safety trainer for the last 10 years, and he has a well-earned reputation for completing assignments correctly and on time. He is part of the city's hardworking e-waste collection team, a waste stream that barely existed when Torrin joined the city. Torrin has been a steady, dependable, and loyal employee, and his kind of congenial spirit make him a pleasure to work with. Congratulations and thank you for 40 years of outstanding service.
Well done. 40 years of service. Thank you.
George, my e-waste buddy.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Congratulations.
So who shot JR, Torrin? We're going to recess our work session and call to order our Community Redevelopment Agency meeting for January the 13th. Are there any additional corrections to the minutes of November the 18th?
Move to be approved.
End of this CRA. If so, please come forward.
February, and then just more on the strategy, the 18-month strategy. So we will be bringing forward a request of 3 food and drink grants from the Nolan Apartments that were pre-qualified. They were going to come this month, but they've asked for a change to the payment schedule so that they can be paid out over time during construction versus all at the end. So that requires an amendment to the grant program if you choose to approve that. So you'll be hearing that in February. We'll also have 1 or 2 facade grants that are coming through that will exceed the $25,000 grant limit, which is good news that we're seeing some significant improvements there. Also wanted to let you know that the Downtown Development Board, the new members were sworn in last week, and they should be recommending revisions to their ordinance when you wear your hat as city council, not as CRA, in February. So that will come forward for the city to start looking at. And I'm feeling really optimistic and great about the work of the Downtown Development Board moving forward. You have some new small business owners, and then you have someone who's used to larger investments, and I think that they're all very committed to supporting downtown businesses, and we're going to see, some positive continuance of activities that have already happened, and then some changes moving forward. And lastly, in February, you'll also see some numbers for the tree lighting project. If you remember, we were looking at base lighting, wrapping the trees, also some 3D projection mapping. So Chris Hubbard and Howard Smith have been working with our arborist and Parks and Rec staff and all the myriad of people in the cities who care for our downtown trees, and with artists and contractors to get estimates. So we'll have some options for you to consider in February for lighting through downtown. So with that, I'm just going to jump over here. So as you know, and have tattooed into your brain by now, I hope, our 18-month strategy, which is up in March of this year. We had 4 focus areas that we were working on tied to the downtown plan. And what I wanted to do today is not go over everything we've accomplished in an exhaustive detail, because we're required by the state to submit an annual report at the end of March, which you will receive a copy of, but just give some highlights on lessons learned, things that either confirmed hypotheses we had or information we were surprised by, and then focus on a few key pieces of data. And remembering that for our work, it's not just about the physical improvements, although there have been a lot of those, the facade grants or new businesses opening, but we're really, really, really working, doing the hard work of that narrative shift, right? Changing the perceptions about city government and downtown. So with that, over here. So our first focus area is sharing authentic, positive stories. In 2019, we reached slightly over 100,000 people via social media. This was through 28 campaigns at a cost of $2,094, right? So these are unique people that we reached via Facebook and Instagram. This is important because we never had targeted social media campaigns before in the city. This kind of work simply wasn't happening. So since reorganizing and bringing on Rosemary DeMoore, the public relations and programs position, we've been able to do this kind of work and reach vastly more people than we've ever reached before. And many of those impressions and reaches have generated people visiting downtown, attending our activities, sharing positive comments. It's also revealed to us that it's sparked a lot of people who say, oh, I'll never go downtown, right? The more people you reach, the more opinions you're going to hear. So that's been interesting as well, the kind of feedback that we've received. 6,240 people visited Second Century Studios this year. Now, the bulk of that was the Dreams of Dali exhibit, a little bit over 4,000. But I think what's important to note about this is that, one, back to that idea, advertising works. In 2018, we had 80 visitors to our pop-up vendor market. That's it. In 2019, we had 1,280 visitors to our pop-up vendor market. And the holiday extravaganza programming, it wasn't designed just to fill a gap, right, that we didn't have really. We had Miracle on Cleveland Street, but we didn't have anything else going on in downtown during the holidays prior to 2018. It's really about trying to figure out what kind of holiday traditions can be created in downtown, right? What do people respond to? Is it the tree lighting? Is it the boat parade, right? Is it unique shopping experiences? Was it the carnival? So really working with the community to see what resonates and what sticks, so that downtown starts to create that place where they feel emotionally this is somewhere where we want to spend our holidays and we have a tradition of coming downtown. The lessons that we learned here is that you have to have a variety of events, right? Everyone wants something a little bit different. You can't just have one kind of event. So whether that's the artwork, whether that's make and take classes like the pinch clay pots, whether that's lecture series, right, from urban designers on how to incorporate play, that the more diversity we had in our events and times of day, the different types of audiences we were able to attract. And it's really informative to have this information when we think about programming ultimately the park, right? Our waterfront park and the kinds of everyday activities that we would have down there. And they have to be high quality. When I first came on and you just had artists, you had only local artists, right? Non-professional and more hobby type artwork wasn't really attracting, right, that many people, because you have access to that throughout this community, right? It's not something new and different. So really high quality programming and a mixture of local and visiting artists. We also learned that our art plus tech curatorial perspective, whether it be the balls that we have out now that respond to sound, right, sound and light, or the Dreams of Dali exhibit, that's really resonating with the people in this area because it's an unmet offering, right? There's not anywhere else you can go in Tampa Bay where you're going to experience the intersection of art plus tech. We also learned that Clearwater really doesn't have a community art space where local artists gather. So as we've worked with more and more artists and they say, oh, well, there's a Dunedin arts group, or there's a Largo arts group, or right, there's all these different groups where professional and non-professional artists gather and hang out and make programs, and we don't have that space. And we're not sure why, but that's something that we're going to be exploring more in 2020 is what role can the CRA play in helping to find someone maybe to help create that kind of gathering space. And the reason being is that artists are important change makers. They're present in every community. They know everybody, right? They are really a through line through a community, and they know how to bring lots of different groups together. And they love organizing and putting on shows. So you really want the artists, doing that work for you in your community. And right now they don't really have a place to gather in Clearwater. So in our second area, construction on Imagine Clearwater, you've already had a big presentation on the public input, but I think it's important to note again that people spent over 8 minutes filling out that online survey. And through every conversation, our residents and potential investors are very excited about the waterfront redevelopment. With housing, this is probably my biggest disappointment for myself, that put in my evaluation, right? We wanted to get 600 housing units permitted, right, by March of 2020. And while we did have Apex 1100 open up, and we've had, small townhouses right here and there, we really weren't able to turn on that. And what we've learned this year is that there's two metrics that drive private investment into market rate housing: foot traffic and your rental rate, right? So what's the dollar amount per square foot? And what we've learned is we're going to have to adjust a little bit, and we're going to have to focus in the near term more on workforce housing and building mixed income housing projects. That initially, I'm like, this is a beautiful beach, right? We have tons of employees in downtown. There's not enough housing supply. I think we can get market rate. But after issuing several RFPs, having all the conversations, the market work that we've done with HR&A, in the next 2 years, we're most likely not going to get market rate rental housing built on its own because of those two metrics that I talked about earlier. But we are doing things to bolster, to up those rental rates through our food and drink grant program. And we also can partner with workforce housing providers. That we know that affordable housing and workforce housing is a huge issue for this county and for the state. And the housing authorities, Pinellas County Economic Development Funds, right, they are all very interested in building now. And they have the capital build now. So we will continue to pursue partnerships, right, so that we can get housing units out of the ground sooner rather than later with a focus on mixed income. And finally, with our grant investments. So this year, we expended a little over $688,000 in grants. And that's a mixture of the food and drink grants, facade grants, sidewalk cafe grants, the Apex 1100 incentive grant. And this is really good. This is a good sign because we had the hypothesis of we want to start partnering, right? We don't want to be the sole funder. We want to be able to incentivize property owners and tenants to invest in this community. And we are seeing that. Right? And we are seeing that through these grant dollars, and we have more coming this year. So in closing, I just say the direction that we're going to be pursuing in 2020, continuing to attract investment, right, through marketing, calling for letters of interest on CRA-owned properties. We're going to continue to work on increasing the foot traffic through the variety of programming, really supporting our businesses through the construction of Imagine Clearwater and Streetscape Phase 3, lots of programming around that. And finally, building the capacity of our community, right? So to give you an example, we have an event producer who runs beer gardens all over the Southeast. And he has the equipment, and he does some of the marketing, and he has the connection to the German beer distributors. And so he wants to come in, he wants to create a beer garden in Station Square. Well, he's looking for someone to partner to do the marketing and to provide the staff over several days who will actually staff the beer garden. Typically, they partner with a nonprofit. Well, right now, I'm struggling, right, to find the right organization that can help partner with that, right? Because our special events, they don't have enough people to staff that kind of operation over several days, right? Clearwater Downtown Partnership, the DCMA, right, Amplify Clearwater, they all have a little bit different focuses or don't necessarily have volunteers that they can immediately put into. So for me, this is an illustration of the work that we have to continue to do to identify volunteers, to identify organizations that can organize and support a volunteer system who can take advantage of these kind of opportunities, right, to provide a really high quality, different events experience. And finally, I'll just say in terms of the narrative that as much positive, authentic stories as we put out there, there still is a commitment on a large amount of people to continue to post negative information about downtown, right? Almost like it is their mission in life to post negative information about downtown, and who are very stuck in a narrative of retribution, right? Of punishing downtown because the city's too slow, or punishing downtown because of the presence of the Church of Scientology. And we have to continue and be committed to talking about possibility, right? Not optimism with no action, right? Hope is not a strategy, so it's not just hope, right? But really the possibility of everything we know that is here and can be created here, and that we're focused on possibility and creating change together, and we're not stuck in a retribution mindset. So do you have any questions?
Any questions? Mr. Albritton?
I have some questions and comments. Question on your urban farming. Fort Pinellas and their planning for 2020, it's an important thing that they're talking about. And I know we talked about it before. Have we made any progress on that?
Yes, so actually I traveled with Sheridan Boyle down to Eckert College on Friday and checked out their an entire composting and food forest area that they had with a local consultant who actually lives in Clearwater, and she was saying that there's many people interested in this type of activity in Clearwater, but they have to travel to St. Pete to work on their farming concept. So our next step with Chuck Lane and I, we're going to actually issue a RFP for some architectural and farming consulting services to look at the economy in site and how you can integrate housing and the community, an expanded community garden together. First step is we will need to amend our own zoning ordinances to allow that kind of agricultural use. So we've been in talks with planning about doing that. And we really want to bring in, right, the architect and the farming manager to see what's possible while we're having conversations with the community garden and other partners. But we are moving forward with studying the feasibility.
Okay, that's good. And just a comment on the artist gathering. Years ago, when we had a pretty strong artist community, and that was their mission back then, is to find some place to gather. And so I think if we can find somewhere in our core that would be amenable to letting them meet, and maybe the CRA could come up with some ideas. I think we could bring that back pretty strongly in Clearwater. I did have a chance this weekend to go look at what Dunedin's done, and it's really nice. And I just hate Clearwater always lagging behind our other little communities, The other thing that I wanted to just make a comment on was the starting of the actual turnover of dirt for Imagine Clearwater will help with values. And you made a comment that, the housing market is going to be a while. I think as we start to actually see some vertical stuff coming out of Imagine Clearwater, that we will have some more interest in that. So maybe, later on this year, we could take another look at that. That's it.
Any other questions? Let me pick up on the Dunedin Fine Arts Center. First off, I know they have an interest in coming to Clearwater. And have we been talking to them, about?
I've asked them to submit a proposal 2 times and haven't seen one yet, but I will follow up.
Okay,
again.
because I know they've talked to me, a couple of times saying that they have an interest of finding some space here. But to Mr. Albritton's point, and this is what frustrates me, is, everybody's looking to the city to do this. Why isn't the downtown partnership doing things like this? Why isn't the Downtown Development Board doing something like this? Why is it always falling back? Well, the city hasn't done its work, and this is what's frustrating because, Dunedin didn't go to the Dunedin City Commission to say, hey, start the Dunedin Fine Arts Center and let it expand. It did it through itself. You see what's going on in St. Petersburg at Salt Creek. And all the work that's going on there. The artists have gotten together, the private sector has gotten together and has gotten involved. And yet here in Clearwater, it's, well, let the city do it, and if the city doesn't do it, it's the city's fault. And I just don't understand that. It's frustrating that we get the blame for things that the private sector ought to be doing and all these other organizations ought to be doing, that's saying that they're here promoting Clearwater. You had mentioned about the beer garden, and I thought I heard you said that the downtown partnership wasn't interested in helping put that together.
Let me clarify. I have not approached them yet asking about it, but none of those, with the exception of Amplify Clearwater, none of those organizations have paid staff people, right? So it's even if and when they do have the desire, what I'm saying is it's always going to be a challenge to get to, right now it's a challenge to get to the level of events that we need on an ongoing basis for it to be turnkey because of the lack of paid staff members in these organizations, right? And that there's very few people that are involved, right? You should, on a regular basis, for a downtown this size, we should have 100 people, right, that we know we can call on like that we can expect to show up to help produce something.
But again, and maybe this is our fault. Maybe this is the city's fault. Why, the downtown partnership prided itself on its beer festival. Well, here's a beer festival, and yet I'm hearing you say they're not available. Or
Well,
don't have the
again,
resources to put it together. I just get frustrated when I see other communities have these organizations or do it with volunteers, and yet here in Clearwater it comes back, well, the city's got to do it. The city has to provide the staff. If the city's special events team isn't ready to staff something and organize it, it's not going to get done.
Well, and I think it's just a reflection of where we are right now, not where all these groups want to be. I mean, I will say I think the tone of everyone's involvement changed immensely in 2019, right? And there is more positivity, there is more desire for collaboration, and these groups are trying new and different things, but we have to build capacity. Right? And what you probably didn't see in these other cities is that city staff typically are the ones doing the organizing. They might not be staffing, they might not be doing all the fundraising, but they're calling the meetings, they're convening everyone in the room, and they're helping to navigate, right, the paperwork and the special events process behind it, which right now we haven't been actively doing as a city. We have for our signature events and on a small scale basis, but we haven't really had a department dedicated to really building this community infrastructure.
Let's go to the Nolan, your comments when you were over here about 3.
Yes.
Is it 3 different owners or is it?
It's one owner and it's 3 different spaces and 3 different concepts, which our program allowed for, that you could be an owner of multiple properties and the grants were by space, by concept.
And they're going to be 3 different concepts entirely?
Correct. One is a food hall, one is a self-serve beer wine place, and one is a coffee and dessert place.
Okay.
I sense some skepticism.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's one owner. I mean, I guess I didn't realize that when we first started talking about that, you know. That, you know, he's taking one big space, cutting it up into three separate spaces. And
It's there's three separate addresses. There's walls. One is totally physically separate. The other two are next door to each other.
all right, we'll hear about that more in February, you said?
Yes.
Okay. Did you have anything else further for us?
That's it for me.
Okay. We will adjourn the CRA and reconvene our work session, agenda item 3.1.
Approve amendments to the Clearwater Code of Ordinances, Chapter 25- Public Conveyances to define commercial megacycles and definitions to establish standards for commercial megacycles, to require license for commercial megacycles to be operated in the city, and to add penalties. Approve amendments to the Clearwater Code of Ordinances, Chapter 6, Alcoholic Beverages, to provide an exemption for megacycle passengers, and pass the appropriate ordinance on first reading. Mr. Helios.
Good morning, Mayor, Council. Jim Halios, Assistant to the City Manager. We're bringing this item back before you. It was presented originally in December 19th, 2019 council meeting, and per the direction of the council, we have added sections within this ordinance to allow alcohol on the megacycle. Everything else that was presented at the December 19th council meeting is in regards to the location of where the megacycles will be allowed to operate have remained the same. And I will turn it over to Matt Smith in legal and let him kind of explain what's been added in regards to the alcohol amendment.
Council, Matt Smith, City Attorney's Office. There's two changes to last drafts that you've seen, two major changes. The first is that in the guidelines for passengers, it does say no alcoholic beverages other than beer, wine, hard cider, or malt-based beverages below 19% alcohol by volume may be consumed by passengers, and only while on the commercial megacycle. And then the second component of this draft is an update to our local ordinance, Chapter 6.31, which is analogous to the open container Florida statute. And there I provided an exception. It says, this paragraph shall not apply to passengers of commercial megacycles authorized pursuant to Chapter 25. Recent passengers not physically on the commercial megacycle are subject to the open container provisions contained in this section and in Florida statutes. So clearly that means that when they're on the megacycle, they can have beer, wine, malt-based beverages, no liquor, and everything's got to be under 9% alcohol. Once they step off the megacycle and they're going to and from establishments, it's fair game as far as Florida statutes. They can't have the alcohol with them. And if they bring alcohol off the premises that they're visiting onto the megacycle, that's not okay either.
Any questions of staff? Council, I'm going to ask you all a question. How many of you have driven on Clearwater Beach at 15 miles an hour? And not because of traffic, but just because you're on the road. And I did that in December. And I've gotten fingers at, I've gotten honked horns, and I've gotten people passing me in the no passing lanes. So maybe y'all need to do that before we approve this on Thursday. We'll discuss that again on Thursday. Agenda item 3.2.
Approve a recommendation by the Public Art and Design Board for a grant of $9,000 to the Clearwater Arts Alliance for their proposal of Phase 5 of Thinking Outside the Box Traffic Signal Box Wrap Program to be funded from the miscellaneous Public Art Fund. Mr. Hubbard.
Good morning, City Council, City Managers, and City Staff. My name is Christopher Hubbard. I'm your Cultural Affairs Coordinator. This is a special initiative project that's partnered with the Clearwater Arts Alliance. They have been bringing artwork via signal boxes to areas that currently do not have artwork, either through CIP projects or facilities in general. They are working at supporting all three goals of the cultural plan that we set forth in 2007. Those are to create city image, create civic connectivity, and create neighborhood identity. Now, as part of the grants program, there is a requirement that any public art projects seeking grant funds from the city would target areas that need public artwork or are in need of some sort of aesthetic benefit to support the identity of that area or to support access for the citizens of that area and neighborhood. With this project, $500 goes towards local artists that are carefully chosen to create site-specific designs for those neighborhoods. The artists would work with the community organizations and the neighborhood organizations to design those site-specific boxes so that no other box in Clearwater would have something specifically like theirs. This is phase 5 of the Arts Alliance's plan. You've likely seen boxes throughout the city. They have created a lot more identity for our neighborhoods and roads and corridors. And have recently gotten county approval to put our work on county-owned roads as well. So now they can cover city, county, and state-owned areas. With that, I can take any questions you may have for this.
Any questions of staff on agenda item 3.2?
I had one question.
Mr. Condon.
Thank you. The $500, is that to try to find the artists, or does that fund the artists?
It's a licensing fee for the artist's work.
Oh, all right.
Their work is being transformed into a box, and they're receiving compensation for the use of their work.
Can we put this on consent? Do y'all want this on consent, or do y'all want it on third? Okay, consent. 3.3.
Approve a funding agreement between the City of Clearwater and the Pinellas Suncoast Transit Authority, PSTA, to provide enhanced Jolly Trolley service during spring break period of March 1, 2020 through April 30th, 2020, with the city contributing a lump sum of not to exceed $93,415 and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same. Mr. Hallius. Yeah.
Good morning, Council, Mayor Jim Hallius, Assistant to the City Manager. The item that we have before you is the enhanced spring break service agreement between the City of Clearwater and PSTA for the Jolly Trolley to provide enhanced service during our 8-week spring break program. To break this down exactly what we're getting during this 8-week promotion, we have one bus that's added to the Monday through Thursday service, and then 2 buses added on the Friday through Sunday service. And then on our 5 busiest weekends, in addition to what I just mentioned, we have an additional Jolly Trolley bus added to the base, which is already established in there. As you'll notice, this is actually, even though the per hour costs had went up per contract from 2019 to 2020, you will notice there is a decrease in price from what we paid last year, which was a total, or our share was $96,395 for our supplement, and then this year will be $93,415, and that is due to the spring break of Pinellas and Hillsborough counties being on the same week this year. So instead of last year where we had an uptick on our busiest weekends, this year we have it roll back to 5 instead of 6. And so those busy weekends include the 3 local spring breaks, Hillsborough, Pinellas, Pasco, and then which is 2 weekends, and then 3 weekends for Sugar Sand. So that's where we're seeing that cost savings. And I'd be happy to answer
any questions of staff on agenda item 3.3? Do we know how many riders use this service?
Yes.
I don't recall seeing this.
Sure, and I do have that number, and I apologize. We can talk, what we have is for the promotional service for the spring break, 2018, we had 204,000 riders. In 2019, we had an uptick to 229,000 riders. And then for those promotional, where we just do certain location boardings, 26,000 in 2018. That was over 10 weeks, but then it went up again to 32,000 over the 8-week period. So overall, a 23% increase that we see in those ridership numbers.
Mr. Auburn.
Did we have it, this is for 8 weeks. Last year was a longer period though, wasn't it?
No, last year was 8 weeks as well. The previous year, 2018, was a 10-week period. And we just saw at the beginning and the end of that 10-week period, we really didn't recognize the ridership numbers
Right.
that we wanted. So we scaled it back to 8 weeks for 2019, and then going over the numbers with PSTA and the numbers Jolly Charlie provided, we really feel that we hit that sweet spot on that 8 weeks. And it also allows us a promotional period of basically to say, okay, the program starts March 1st through April 30th. So we have hard dates beginning and ending, and that allows PSTA and also our public communications staff felt that that was a really strong way to advertise the program, is by having those hard dates.
Okay. Again, same question. Can we put this on consent?
Okay.
Okay. 3.4.
Authorize an amendment to the original agreement with HR&A Advisors of New York, in an amount not to exceed $19,500 for the development of a request for proposal document, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same. Mr. Dell.
Mayor, Council, Michael Delk, Assistant City Manager. This, as you'll recall, in December, we discussed the request for proposals with you that's getting ready to be prepared by HR&A. And I think we, wisely, appropriately expanded that from an RFP only for the Harborview to an RFQ for all three bluff sites to gauge the market interest in the bluff sites. That's a somewhat of a minor change in scope from HR&A, so this change of $19,500 reflects primarily three things that we're updating in the scope to finalize this phase. One is expansion to 3 sites. Again, prior focus was Harborview only. We're now going to incorporate all the sites along the bluff into the RFQ. The marketing content, based on the economic analysis, HR&A is going to go further into defining the market opportunities for us. Given the kind of the anemic nature of our downtown market, it's not as apparent, so they're going to do more in that area. In addition, they're going to engage in a more direct developer outreach. When they did their original work, they contacted 60 developers. They got responses from 10. So we would like to try to get a little better handle at this next step on the RFQ and RFP phase. So HR&A is going to do more to directly reach out from the New York office and engage the development community over the qualifications and proposal content. So in any event, with that, I'll try to answer any questions that you have, but that's and we still intend to bring this product to you in February. So this is not going to slow us down, but it's an expansion of the site work.
I think Mr. Pogles had a question.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Well, I'm glad we switched the strategy to an RFQ for 3 properties instead of 1. I have a hypothetical question for you. How much more attractive to developers and how much more complicated would this process be if private sector threw in, say, 3 or 4 more parcels for this RFQ? In other words, partnered. Here's my property. I want to be part of this RFQ. Because I was contacted this weekend by 2 different property owners that would very interested to see what kind of development would be attracted and would be willing to partner with the city. So if you're going to develop a whole waterfront with 3 parcels, and then you get private sector property owners ready to throw in 2 or 3 of their parcels, you see where I'm going with this?
Sure. I think the best thing they can do is contact us. Let us know what, somebody's thinking out there, what their concept ideas are. Unless
I would have called you, but it was this
we have no
weekend,
way to
so-
know how we might best coordinate, but
Okay.
we'll have to
Thank you.
talk to them if
All right,
they're.
good.
You're talking about the site? The site that they're, the
Private
original?
property owners, not necessarily on the waterfront, but in the
Oh.
core, in the
Oh,
core,
in the core.
in the core,
Oh, okay.
yeah. A couple pretty large sites as well, so. A vacant site with nothing on it. So the second part of the question was attractive, first part was complicated. Something we have,
Well, I think where our primary focus in this effort is on the bluff properties.
Right.
Right, so that's trying to get a handle on what we have and what the market maybe can bring us with regard to either one site individually or all three sites or whatever. I think the secondary issue is how then can we build on that with additional private sector sites. I think it would just be important for us to know what's on the table and what somebody's thinking of. Then we can, I mean, we'll need to separate those two things. I don't think we won't muddy the water with private sector sites necessarily at the same time. If that's,
Well, but if a master developer comes in and you get some really strong proposals for the entire bluff, and oh yes, by the way, we need residential with retail, and this site would be perfect, and you know,
absolutely.
Showing off everything that's available instead of just the waterfront.
I mean, if we're aware of it, those are conversations that we can have with the development community. If we know properties that are available or in play for redevelopment, then we can, we can engage the right parties as well as our own support and our partnership opportunities to make something happen with them. So that's, I think the main thing is just we would love to talk to those people if they're.
Okay.
Any other questions on 3.4? Consent?
Yes.
4.1.
Approve a vehicle use agreement between the School Board of Pinellas County, Florida, and the City of Clearwater through August 23rd, 2020, for the city to utilize Pinellas County school buses at a cost of $1.50 per mile plus $29 per hour for a total estimated cost of $25,000, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same. Mr. Lockwood.
Good morning, Mike Lockwood, Assistant Director for the Parks and Recreation Department. In front of you this morning is an agreement between the City of Clearwater and the School Board of Pinellas County. This agreement allows city staff to work with school board staff to reserve and utilize school buses for after-school, summer camp, and teen field trips. By using school board buses for our activities, it gives us the ability to maximize our budget and provide a safe environment for our kids. With that, we have to answer any questions.
Any questions of staff on agenda item 4.1? Mr. Condo.
This is something that's done every year, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Yes.
And has the price changed significantly?
No, not at all. And actually, it's a very good deal for us. I mean, we've gone out and looked at other transportation means just for other activities, and it's a very good rate.
Consent?
Yes.
Thank you.
4.2.
Approve a tourism promotion agreement between the City of Clearwater and Pinellas County for and on behalf of Visit St. Petersburg Clearwater, VSBC, for Clearwater Sea Blues Festival to be held on February 22nd and 23rd, 2020, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same. Mr. Cook.
Thank you. Good morning, Mayor and Council. Chris Cook, Events and Athletics Manager for Parks and Recreation. Clearwater Sea Blues is in its 15th year this year. Visit St. Pete Clearwater has been a major partner on this event for several years. Back in October, we came to you and made you aware of a reduction in their sponsorship, in their cash sponsorship. And this agreement was then come together and look to be formalized. There is an indemnity clause here, so we're bringing the agreement to you today to approve their $25,000 cash sponsorship, as well as an additional $24,000 plus in kind they're going to provide in advertising the event. And with that, I'll be happy to answer.
Any questions of staff on 4.2? Consent?
Yeah.
Thanks. 5.1.
Reappoint Jeffrey DeVincent to the Board of Trustees, Clearwater Police Supplementary Pension Plan with a term to expire January 31st, 2024.
Good morning. I'm Officer James Riley. I'm a trustee with the Clearwater Police Supplementary Pension Plan. As Florida State Statute 1805 requires, the majority of the Board of Trustees must pick a fifth chair for the council to consider. The current chair is Sergeant Jeffrey DeVincent, who's been with us for 24 years with the city. At a meeting the Board of Trustees held on December 13th, 2009, Sergeant DeVincent agreed to serve another 4-year term, which would be effective February 1st, 2020 to January 31st, 2024. The Board of Trustees of the Clearwater Police Supplemental Pension Fund recommends that Sergeant DeVincent be appointed to the Board of Trustees, and he stated that he will accept the appointment.
Any questions on 5.1? Consent? 6.1.
Accept a utility easement from 1250 Main LLC for the construction, installation, and the maintenance of city utility facilities on real property located at 1712 Gulf to Bay Boulevard and adopt the appropriate resolution. Mr. Burzak.
Good morning, Robert Burzak, Real Estate Services Coordinator. The utility easement will allow the city rights for construction, installation, and maintenance of utility facilities at the site is developed for commercial use.
Any questions of staff on 6.1? It will be on our agenda Thursday night. 6.2.
Accept a drainage and utility easement from Gulfview Lodging LLP for the construction, installation, and maintenance of certain drainage and utility facilities on real property located at 385 South Gulfview Boulevard and adopt the appropriate resolution. Burzak again.
Thank you. The proposed easement will provide the city with property rights necessary for the construction, installation, and maintenance of city utilities and drainage facilities that support the commercial development on the subject site.
Any questions on 6.2? We'll have that on our agenda Thursday night. And I assume 6.3 is the same thing.
Accept a sidewalk easement from Habitat for Humanity of Pinellas County, Inc. on real property located at 1121 South Street and adopt the appropriate resolution on first reading. Mr. Burzak.
The sidewalk easement will allow the city rights for repair, maintenance, and replacement of its sidewalk as the 1121 South Avenue site is developed for single-family housing.
Sounds like it's going to be an exciting meeting on Thursday.
Yeah, I'm agree.
6.4.
Declare surplus certain real property located in Section 17, Township 29 South, Range 16 East, city-owned David Avenue property for the purpose of exchanging the David Avenue property for certain property owned by Creative Contractors, Inc. at Drew Street and North Gordon Avenue. Approve the related contract for exchange of real property between Creative Contractors, Inc. and the City of Clearwater and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same together with all other instruments necessary to effect closing. Mr. Burzak again.
The city-owned David Avenue property is 5.68 acres of unimproved land that was acquired by the city on October 3rd of 1997 for $386,000. The site was purchased in order to replace a collapsing stormwater system on the site, which was addressed after the purchase. A new stormwater pipelining project is underway and will be completed prior to the closing of the land exchange. The property owned by Creative Contractors is located at 618 to 620 Drew Street. It is a 0.72 acre site containing a building with 8,176 square feet of office space, a parking lot, and unimproved land. An independent appraisal was performed by Tobias Realty Advisors on both sites for the proposed land exchange. The city's David Avenue property's fair market value was determined to be $655,000, and the Creative Contractors' Drew Street property was determined to have a $685,000 fair market value. With the proposed land exchange, the city received a property with a higher appraised value, which is located in the strategic downtown core. The closing date and the contract contemplates the closing to occur on or before October 1st, 2020. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of staff? Mr. Poglaze.
Do we have any idea what, I hate to see a business like Creative Contractors who have tremendous longevity here in Clearwater, a business of that significance leaving. Do we know what motivated this? Did they outgrow their size or?
They want a larger office complex. And
They're staying in Clearwater, they're just building a new.
Yeah, David's not downtown.
It's not downtown.
So, and it's nice to free up property for additional office space, so. Okay, thank you.
You were thinking office space. I was thinking of the Fine Arts Center. We were just talking about needing a facility, Mr. Hubbard. But this will be on our agenda Thursday night. 7.1.
Approve a future land use map amendment from the institutional category to the residential office general category for 407 North Belcher Road and pass the appropriate ordinance on first reading. Mr. Guevara.
Morning, Diego Guevara from Planning and Development. This case involves one parcel of land located on the east side of North Belcher Road, approximately 1,075 feet north of Drew Street. E&G Caputo Clearwater LLC owns the parcel, which is approximately 0.729 acres. The request is to change the property future land use map designation from institutional to residential office general. The request amendment will allow the property to be used as an office as proposed. Historically, the building has been used as an office, including a medical office, and now they want to be used as a finance broker office. The proposed amendment is consistent with the applicable review criteria for land use map amendments as detailed in the staff report provided in your package. It is consistent with the comprehensive plan, compatible with the surrounding properties, and will not degrade the public facility services. The DRC recommends approval.
Any questions on 7.1? We'll have it on our agenda Thursday night. 7.2.
Approve a zoning atlas amendment from the institutional district to the office district for 407 North Belcher Road. Pass the appropriate ordinance on first reading. Mr. Guevara again.
This is a companion rezoning application to amend the zoning atlas designation from institutional district to office district for the same property that we mentioned before. The site is surrounded by commercial uses, including across the street where a grocery store and other neighborhood scale retail are located, and additional office buildings both to the north and south of the subject property located along North Belcher Road. Detached dwellings encompass most of the properties to the east and south of the subject property. The proposed amendment is consistent with the applicable review criteria for zoning atlas amendments as detailed in the staff report. The proposed office zoning district is consistent with the surrounding zoning district that exists in the vicinity of the subject property. The proposal is compatible with the surrounding uses and consistent with the character of the surrounding properties and the neighborhood. The DRC recommended approval.
Any questions on 7.2? Our meeting on Thursday night is on January the 16th, starting at 6 o'clock. 8.1, thank you.
Authorize a sole source award to Evoqua Water Technologies of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania for ODIFIS and PRI-SC, hydrogen peroxide, in an annual amount not to exceed $200,000 for the initial contract period of February 1, 2020 through January 31, 2021, with the option for 2 one-year extensions pursuant to Clearwater Code of Ordinances Section 2.5641B, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same. Mr. Porter.
Good morning, David Porter, Public Utilities Director. I stand before you this morning asking you to authorize the purchase of operating chemicals that we utilize at the Northeast Wastewater Facility. It is a sole source contract. This use of this chemical and this product is part of a contract, a performance-based contract that we have with Siemens Corporation. Purpose of the chemicals is to control odors at the Northeast facility. It's been very effective for a number of years.
Any questions of staff on 8.1? Mr. Condon.
Sir.
Have we done business with this company before?
Yes, for a very long time.
All right.
Consent?
Yes.
8.2.
Authorize a purchase order to Odyssey Manufacturing of Tampa, Florida for liquid sodium hypochlorite in the annual not to exceed amount of $485,000 for the period of January 17, 2020 through January 16, 2021, with 2 one-year renewal options at the city's discretion, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same. Mr. Porter again.
And David Porter, Public Utilities Director. Again, I stand before you this morning asking you to authorize the purchase of a necessary chemical that we use not only in our wastewater facilities but also for drinking water. It is essentially bleach. It's chlorine solution. It is used to disinfect the treated wastewater and also to disinfect and to make our drinking water safe. So if you have any questions.
Any questions of staff on 8.2? Mr. Condon.
Same question. Have we done business with these folks before?
We have, and they've been very successful.
And is this a yearly or multi-yearly budgeted item?
It is. This is for 1 year with 2 annual renews possible.
Any other questions? Mr. Porter, I realize it's campaign season. I heard a comment, though, the other day that we don't have enough water for our residents, or that we're running out of water.
We have plenty of water.
Okay.
We have all the water that we need to serve our customers, either through manufacturing the water, making the water ourselves at our own water facilities. But we also have an agreement with Pinellas County to serve us water up to 14 million gallons a day. So we have plenty of water. We can serve not only today's customers, but those envisioned for the future.
It also heard that, it was reported that some of the people may not like the taste of our water or something, but our water is safe to drink.
Absolutely. Not only is it safe, it is actually very good quality water. I myself drink it. We drink it right out of the tap at our house. Sometimes, this came up last council meeting too, and there was the satisfaction survey.
Yeah.
And, 55% of the people surveyed said they liked the water and the service and so forth. The others said they had some concern of one sort or another. Our water here in Florida is warm. When you take it out of the tap, it's going to be warmer than people are used to if they're from the northern states, which is where I'm from originally too. The perception of the taste of water varies tremendously depending upon the temperature of the water. Now, we've had this discussion at multiple events that I've attended. I know most of you have been to these as well. And I've just simply said to folks, if you want it to taste like the water where you came from, it's very simple. Put it in the refrigerator. And quite frankly, I've had an awful lot of people come back and say, that's exactly what I do, and it's exactly right. So, to anyone that has a question about that, put a jug of water in the refrigerator, and it'll taste just like it did where you came from.
Consent?
Yes. Thank you very
9.1.
much.
Thank you. 9.1, Ms. Call.
Appoint Pamela Benton to the Sister Cities Advisory Board as a school board's World Language Coordinator with a term to expire January 31st, 2024. Council members, the School Board World Language Center, that's who they've identified as their representative, and that is the individual that is being recommended.
Any questions on 9.1? Consent? Yes. 9.2?
Reappoint Leanne Grayson to the Nuisance Abatement Board with term to expire January 31st, 2024. Ms. Grayson has been serving and has completed, or will be completing, her first term, and she is interested in reappointing, and staff has no concerns with the reappointment.
Questions? Consent? Yep. 10.1.
Ratify the adoption of Resolution 19.34, authorizing the issuance of bonds to finance a portion of the cost of Imagine Clearwater project in accordance with Clearwater Code of Ordinances and pass Ordinance 9357-20 on first reading. This is an ordinance to ratify the resolution that you adopted last year prior to us moving forward with the issuance of bonds for Imagine Clearwater. We will still come back to you for the issuance of bonds, but this is an ordinance to permit that.
Any questions of Ms. Aiken on 10.1? And it will be on our agenda Thursday night. 10.2.
Request authority to institute civil action against the heirs, descendants, assigns, or other interested parties in the Bel Air Bayou Inc. Corporation to secure necessary interests in certain lands in the area of the Seminole Boat Ramp to complete the dock segment of the project. Mr. Hull.
Mayor, members of council, my name is Dick Hull, Assistant City Attorney, and we're seeking authority to institute an action to quiet title to a small piece of property that we're using to build the Seminole boat ramps. We already used part of it. The issue came up in a survey, and it appears that we bought the upland, and there's some question to a small portion of that we need to quiet.
Any questions of staff on 10.2? Consent?
Yep.
I'm sorry, Mr. Hamilton.
Yeah, I'm good on this project, but I want to bring forward something regarding, because we're talking about the Seminole boat area, and I want to ask a legal question or a something, and it goes back to our $1.1 million bathroom.
But that's not on this item.
No, but I want to get staff's.
We'll bring it up at the end when you have an opportunity to bring up something that's not related to this agenda item.
It's not, but I'm not on the agenda for a discussion item at the end, but if you'll allow me to bring it up, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah. You can bring it up under new business.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, fine.
Okay. Any Consent on 10.2. 10.3 is a second reading. 10.4 is a second reading. So any questions on our second readings? Mr. Horn, do you have anything further for us?
I do not.
Ms. Aiken?
No, sir.
13.1, Mr. Albritton.
Yeah, I asked the city manager about this a while back. We had a new downtown code for signage, and we did include everything except marquees or theater. So I wanted to see if I could come up with some kind of a allowance to have vibrancy added to theaters. And I've been talking to Ms. Clayton with planning, and my idea wasn't just to limit it to the downtown. I think any theater throughout Clearwater, whether it be a movie theater or a theater that has plays, should be allowed to have a marquee of some type. I know I go by the Capitol Theater and I can't read who's playing tonight because it's on an 8.5 by 11 sheet on the wall, and as I'm driving by, I'm certainly not going to look on my phone. So we've had some discussion about this, and I guess Ms. Clayton, would you like to, where are we with this? Is this something that we want to discuss as council today?
I'm Gina Clayton, Planning and Development. I had an opportunity to meet with each council member last month and got some direction on a variety of issues, and we had it pinged to bring back for discussion in February. But I can convey to you, I guess, some of the feedback that I received if you would like me to, or we can bring something a little more definitive back in February, whichever is your preference.
Let's hear what she's got so far, so I would like to hear that.
Okay, well, when we met, my goal was try to get an understanding of what you're looking for when you say a marquee, because I think there could, just want to make sure we're all talking about the same thing, and that is really with a structure that has a sign integrated into it, because I think what I was hearing was something that would be more of a traditional historic type of marquee. And if you could put that up on the screen. Down. Gotcha. Power's on.
We lost it.
Oh, wrong button. Okay. So I did find that the majority of council was focused on a structure that would have signage integrated into it. So that would be my thought, that an ordinance, we would need to convey that the signage is integrated into a structure of sorts. I did also find that the majority of council members was interested in marquees for performing arts uses. We had some discussion about how movie theaters have moved away from marquees, and we looked at some of the examples in the county with the new AMCs and Movicos that don't have marquees, because that just doesn't seem to be the way that movie theaters are operated, a little bit differently. I think that there was some split on the whole concept of flashing lights, moving lights. I think that there's some split on scrolling messages, so I didn't feel like I had very clear direction on those points. Obviously, amending the code to allow flashing lights is a big code amendment. We don't allow flashing lights, so we'd have to work with legal very closely on any provision that would allow some sort of moving lights. Another reason why I believe that limiting it to the downtown, if that's what you're interested in, would be a little bit easier than doing that for uses throughout the city. And I think those really were the few points. One of the things that we did look at, though, is even with the new downtown regulations and signage allowance compared to comp sign program. For example, the Capitol Theater is already maxed out on any signage allowance. So if we wanted to put a marquee up on the Capitol Theater, we'd have to figure out about removing some existing signage and or how big of an allowance would you want to allow in addition to their maximum as they're already maxed out. So those are my initial thoughts, and I'd be happy to answer any questions about those points. I guess I should say one other thing. I think there was consensus that a marquee could be have an electronic sign incorporated into it. Like the picture there, this one I think is a marquee that was retrofitted and integrated with an electronic changeable sign.
Mr. Albrecht. Yeah, I think that's probably where things are going now with, I couldn't imagine somebody with a ladder putting letters up on, nowadays. But, so if they're not moving, if they're just allowed to be changed, that would be something I would be interested in. My question is, you said it would be it'd be easier to do it with the downtown code, but it would be harder to do it throughout Clearwater. If you do it by use, though, and as an exception, I mean, that would be one way to do it, wouldn't it? Of all Clearwater, to have any performing arts, you could just do it by use and not have to change the whole code?
I'm not going to speak for legal. I said, in my opinion, when you carve out downtown, if you want to have some, to be sort of an entertainment district, I felt like it was an easier case to make than on a use throughout the whole city. But again, I would really need some feedback from legal on that.
Then I'm going to make a comment and I can only speak for myself. One of the things that I've always been interested in is bringing vibrancy to downtown. And to me, moving lights is vibrancy. And I was disappointed that we didn't address that in the sign code. I'm not saying we need to and I'm not suggesting that we need to redo the whole front of the Capitol Theater. I like the way it is. I think, but they're not allowed to change colors on their signs, even though they have the ability to do that.
They do it on a regular basis. I mean,
They change.
I know.
you see it happening all the time.
I know, but they're not allowed to do it.
No, they're not.
Okay, so, I'd like to see, in my opinion, as a councilman here, I'd like to see vibrancy put back into it. That's the whole reason that I wanted to look at this. And downtown's fine. We've got one theater downtown right now. Two? Where's the other?
Francis Wilson Playhouse is in
Oh,
downtown.
but I don't consider that downtown. But you're right, that is and that's been here a long time. And they actually have, I guess, a grandfathered marquee, don't they? They have some kind of a structure.
They have a billboard.
I think over the entry is, to me, it looks like a standard, small, but.
They give the garden club.
But anyway, so I just wanted to clarify my position, and I look forward to hearing more about it in February.
Let me jump in here a second, because I think we need to go back to when we were talking about the Capitol Theater. And we decided as a council back then not to have a marquee. Is that correct, Ms. Clayton? And the Capitol was comfortable with that.
I
mean-
really wasn't a party to that, but in working with Felicia on the signage, there was never a marquee proposed.
Proposed. And while I understand you're driving by, but, that was years ago. And the Capitol Theater has been very successful without the marquee. And I'm not, not having heard from them, from the Capitol Theater or Ruth Eckerd Hall or any of these other theaters that they want a marquee with flashing lights and whatever, I'm not exactly sure, this is an area that we need to worry about right now. We can bring vibrancy with these other programs that Ms. Thompson was talking about lighting for trees and whatever, without making this a downtown Tokyo or a Times Square. And as soon as we go down that road, I'm afraid that we're going to start getting complaints from the neighbors that we're disrupting their lifestyle.
Well, I'm going to respectfully disagree on part of that, because I'm not interested in making it downtown Tokyo or Times Square. I'm sure interested in giving downtown a little more energy and vibrancy than it has today. And I don't think anybody who buys a residential unit in a downtown urban environment, which downtown Clearwater should be considered a downtown urban environment, can't expect it to be a sleepy little hamlet. It's not. So, I mean, I've been on council many years, and ever since, even in the early 2000s, I've never been a big fan of our overall sign code. I don't think our sign code addresses or recognizes advancements in technology. I mean, I would love to be able to buy it, on a personal, I'd love to be able to buy a new sign, put up a new sign at the Palm Pavilion with an electronic message board at the bottom of it, so that I can sit in the office, or my manager can sit in the office and change the message on the sign at the bottom to say, best burger on the beach, and then change it to something else, try our fish taco or whatever, and be able to do it by typing on a keyboard and hitting a button, and boom, the message is up there, rather than putting someone on a ladder to go out there and change letters one at a time. I'd prefer to be able to do that, but our sign code doesn't allow for it. So, I mean, it's not, I don't think we fully embrace or allow our business community to utilize technology. And, yeah, you can have, I'd love for our downtown businesses, and I've said before also that I think downtown sign ordinance and allowances should be different than Gulf to Bay. And Gulf to Bay should probably be different than somewhere else. One size fits all sign code for the entire city of Clearwater does not work, in my opinion. I think, but I'm but one vote, and it's never gone anywhere, and I don't think it's going to go anywhere right now. But as far as back to the topic of the Capitol Theater, I understand what Gina says about today's movie theaters, because today's movie theaters have so many multiple screens that they can't really put what's going on a marquee. But for a performing arts venue such as the Capitol, the Capitol kind of went back. It's an old school type theater. Old school theaters had marquees that told you what's going on in them, and I think I don't have a problem with it if there's a way to massage the allowance specifically for performance art venues or something of that nature. I'm more than willing to listen.
Mr. Public.
Well, unfortunately, the mayor and I won't be here in February, but I did.
You're well in February.
I thought we're out by. I talked to you, Pam.
The election is March the 17th.
You're here for both meetings in March.
Must be Monday. Well, good. We will be here then. That encourages me, because I ditto everything that you two said, and even more so with David. And the only correction I'd like to make is because I was here when the Capitol Theater, they did not request the marquee back then because it was against code, and because we were footing most of the bill, they were having trouble fundraising. So they, of course, did not want to get sideways with us. But this has been a discussion that's been going a long time about the Capitol Theater, and I appreciate the one-on-ones that we had, Gina and I, because it would be, I think, a relative easy fix without having to change the maximum amount of signage, would be get rid of the 8x12 little poster boards they have in the windows, and then they could do the marquee. But there is still a challenge structurally because of the way it's currently built with the overhangs and the things coming out. So whether or not, I hope they're still willing and want to do this, because it will be a challenge and there will be expense, that I would prefer the Capitol, that Ruth Eckerd Hall do instead of the citizens of Clearwater. But I would like to see a marquee as well, with moving lights.
Mr. Kondo.
one performing venue that we haven't talked about is the waterfront performance venue. Are we looking toward the future to have some type of active entrance to the park? Or are we content with a passive entrance to a park that we want to be active? I'm thinking we might need some type of, it's probably not a marquee, but some type of signage of what some of the opportunities are in our 22-acre park.
So we'll have more discussion, I guess, in February when you come back to us, Ms. Clayton. And just out of curiosity, is this how you spell marquee? Because I was really confused by, I thought you were bringing up a Mercury car or something.
With Cordoba leather seats.
Mr. Hamilton.
Yes, what I wanted to talk about was, and the more I think about this and the more I talk about it, the more I, dig my heels in. I'm wondering, the bathroom that's being designed for Seminole Boat Launch, to me, it's where common sense and governmental relations take opposite directions, totally opposite directions. You're telling me, we're looking at building a public bathroom, yet our requirements say we got to put it up because of floodplain, and then we got to put an elevator in to make it ADA compliant. It's a public bathroom, for God's sakes. Why can't we build it at grade? If it's an insurance, I don't care. We don't need to insure the building. We don't need to insure it. Build it correctly, build it with concrete block. If we get a major storm and the water gets 6 feet high inside of it, there's nobody living in it. There's not going to be anybody inside the building during the storm because we'll secure it. And when the water recedes, you go in there, you hose it down, you wipe it down, you clean it, and you open it back up. And it's ADA compliant because it's at grade. It's additional cost of having to elevate it and put an elevator in for a darn bathroom. It just doesn't make sense to me. And we can cut the cost of that thing probably close to half by being able to by building it at grade. You still got to have the pump station. I understand that because certain stuff does not flow uphill, so you got to pump it up there. But it just doesn't make sense why we have to build it above flood plan and make it ADA compliant and just add all this expense to a bathroom. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I think staff has been reviewing and will be coming back with a recommendation to us at a later date. So,
yeah, but is it possible to build it at grade and just don't insure the building? I mean, I know you have to build it above flood plan, we're going to insure it, but if we don't insure the building...
Again, Mr. Hamilton, I'm sure staff is, that's one of the things that they're reviewing, and when they're finished with their report, they'll come back to us with a recommendation.
It's just one of those things that it's one of those for me.
Any other business that we have? Our meeting is at 6 o'clock on Thursday, January the 16th. Thank you. This is yours.